All right.
Well, welcome everyone to the 25th episode of the Bamboo Lab. I'm your host, Brian Bosley, and for the better part of the past 25 years, I have had the most amazing journey and had the greatest of honors in working alongside and coaching some of the world's top performers, the peak performers in the world. What we do here today and each week is we bring these ideas and strategies directly to you, to your home, to your car, to your office, into your earbuds. Do you ever feel like you're just a little underachieving in life and you're stuck on that hamster wheel and you're spinning, but you're just not going anywhere, at least at the pace you'd like? Do you know that deep down you've got so much more to offer to the world, to yourself, and to your loved ones? Well, if so, welcome. This is your home. This is your Bamboo Lab. You've landed in the right spot. This podcast, the Bamboo Lab, is written, created, broadcast, and edited for all you strivers, thrivers, and survivors out there. If you'd like to know and learn a little bit more about what we do here at the Bamboo Lab, more about my private individual peak performance coaching, my writings, my team and group training, or my corporate speaking, feel free to email me directly at any time. My email is Brian, and it's Brian with an I, at bamboolab3, and that's the number 3.com. That's Brian at bamboolab3.com. Just some updates this week. As of this morning, we are now being broadcast in 20 countries, 34 states, and 402 cities across this great nation of ours in the U.S. I'm going to recognize 3 new listeners also. 3 randomly picked. Deanna A. out of East Grand Rapids, Michigan. Bim P. out of Seattle, Washington. And Sharon out of Sarasota, Florida. We welcome all 3 of you. We're so glad to have you a part of the Bamboo Pack. Now, I want to read a little letter here. It's going to take me just a second to pull it up. I got a text this week that I wanted to share. You know, as most of you returning listeners know, my goal is to collect 10,000 text, emails, cards, and letters from various listeners who have found value and have been impacted by the Bamboo Lab and the wonderful guests we have and the content we share. This one said, I wanted to know that I'm following your podcast and I'm loving your podcast and feeling so inspired and uplifted. You are rocking it. We are so proud of you. So I hope that listener is listening to know that she made an impact on my life with that simple little message today or this week. All right. This episode is pretty special for me. Number one, it's number 25, which means I'm halfway to my goal for the year. I have an expectation and a standard of at least 50 podcasts going out each year. And this one is with a very dear friend. I would almost call him a brother. In fact, that's how we refer to each other. Before we get into introducing our amazing guest today, however, I want to share that we are broadcasting this from my favorite bar, my favorite little pizzeria, sports bar, Big Bob's in East Grand Rapids, Michigan. The Cheers of East Grand Rapids. Rob and Jennifer Lutz are the proprietors, and they are the most gracious human beings. I haven't been back to my former city, Grand Rapids, in almost a year. I walked in and right away was greeted with a hug and an Oberon and a beautiful salad. So this episode is dedicated to Big Bob Sports Bar and all you smaller brick and mortar businesses that survived through the pandemic and through the COVID and the shutdowns. I'm glad you're back up and running, and I'm glad you survived in this one, man. I'm home right now, and because of my guest today, I specifically chose actually just in like the last hour. I was going to do it at the lake, this podcast, and I thought, you know what? I'm talking to a buddy. What better way to talk to a buddy than being at your favorite sports bar with a cold Oberon in your hand? So that's what we're doing. So I want to take this time to welcome my buddy, my brother, Geno Lechuga. He lives in Firestone, Colorado. Hey, buddy. Man, it's so good to have you on here. And I can't wait till the guests catch your energy and your B12. Man, you're like a shot of B12 every time I talk to you. He lives in Firestone, Colorado with his wife, Caitlin, and his 2 amazing children, Dante and Ava. What a couple of beautiful names, man. He comes from humble beginnings, but this is a guy who puts his head down and charges forward. He's always working on his physical and mental and intellectual, emotional and spiritual development. And he just kind of visualized what he wanted for himself and his family through his life. He's a community member. He's a business leader, and he leads a team of safety salespeople in North America. And what they do, we're not going to mention the company because we haven't gotten it cleared through the marketing yet, but his company specializes in providing protection, hands, eyes, ears, hearing, head and body protection against industrial injuries. You know, his motto in life, man, it's pretty simple. Leave the world a better place than he found it. Positively affecting the people around him, and his goal is to lead and inspire and leave a legacy that will help influence generations he will never meet in the flesh, man. I got to tell you, folks, I genuinely love this man. And I think we've only met one time in person. And I had the privilege of being a keynote speaker at his company and a trainer several years ago in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and got to meet him. And I'm like, this guy's got spunk, man. So, Geno, my brother, welcome to the Bamboo Lab podcast.
Double B, Brian, man, it is so fun to be here with you. And I feel, obviously, we've talked about this many times. Yes, we're brothers from another mother for sure. I wish I was at Bob's Sports Bar with you. But, phone is good. I'm honored, humbled, excited to be part of your 25th episode.
Yeah, this is a landmark episode, so I'm glad you're a part of it.
Unbelievable.
And for all you listeners out there, you're going to hear some background music. I'm actually on the patio at Big Bob's, and there's some reggae music playing. There's birds chirping, and I'm sure there'll be some other members or honored visitors coming out here to have drinks and lunch. So you might hear some people in the background, but this is the real deal, man. And this is why, like I said, I chose this particular location because I thought, you know what? This is a buddy, man. This is a brother of mine. Let's do it over a cold beer at my favorite bar.
Absolutely.
Oh, Geno, man, here's the deal about Geno. Probably very few out there have heard of his name. He's not a household name, but once you hear him talking and get his energy, you're not going to forget his name. I'll tell you that. We have the privilege. We just keep in touch. We talk, Geno, maybe once a month we talk on the phone.
Once a month. Yeah.
Yeah. We just schedule
time together.
Yeah. It's just fun to chit chat and catch up. And every time I walk away from our phone call, I feel like I can run through a brick wall. So,
same here.
Yeah, Geno, can you, right now, by the way, listeners, Geno's sitting in his truck at a basketball game or a baseball game.
Yeah, I came out of retirement, Brian. The coach called me and said, "Hey, I need you to coach one basketball game for me at the high school level." So I said, "Well, all right." And it's probably 95 degrees in Denver. So I'm sitting in my truck right now. I'm sweating my butt off, but you know what? I'm having a good time because I'm with you, B.
Well, we're sweating together. I was thinking about doing this podcast inside Big Bob's when I came here for lunch today, but when I walked in, Rob gave me a hug and said, "Sorry, man, the air conditioning's broken." So I'm sitting. He did set up a nice umbrella for me in the patio, so I'm a little cooled off. But it's hot. It's hotter. I'm sweating my butt off too. So, all right. So that our Bamboo Pack listeners here, we call them the Bamboo Pack. Geno, so they can get to know a little bit about who you are. Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up and your family, et cetera?
You bet, Brian. Born and raised in Denver, and like you'd mentioned at the beginning, I come from humble beginnings, really from a single wide trailer where my sister and I, who's 13 months older than me, we lived with our parents. And, our parents are good people. They're really good people. They were just young when they had us. My sister and I, we got caught up just because my parents loved to party. They led an unfaithful marriage, unfortunately, and it really resulted in an undesirable living environment. And so, not only that, we lived on the edge of poverty from the time I was born till the time I was adopted. And so my sister and I were adopted by our grandparents.
Okay.
When I was 6, my sister was 7. And, man, they were like the angels on our shoulders, right? They came down from the heavens, they swooped us up, and they dedicated their lives to helping kids like my sister and I. My grandparents had kids of their own, but they had adopted kids. They had fostered kids. At one time, there were 12 kids in our household, and there's never a dull moment. I will certainly say there was never a dull moment growing up with my grandparents. And I laugh, Brian, at, today, because my household, it's a pretty quiet household, right? It's my wife and I and our 2 kids, and they're pretty chilled out. They're pretty calm. My son is 14, who's Dante. My daughter Ava's 11. And sometimes when they have friends over, the noise level raises. And it's so funny because when their friends leave, both of them are exhausted, including my wife. They're just exhausted, right? And I was used to that growing up. So I actually feed off of noise and energy, and they're just worn out. But it was a great childhood. I mean, my grandparents were everything that you could think of. They were positive. They were caring. They gave us everything we possibly needed. And a funny story for you, when I was adopted at the age of 6, I actually met my wife of almost 20 years, Caitlin, when I was adopted. So my grandparents used to watch her They used to babysit her. And so that's when I met her, was when I was 6 years old. So we always joke that she knows me better than me sometimes. So,
I love it.
But yeah, it was a great childhood. I had my grandparents, obviously, people. I had my biological parents as well. I had a different relationship with them, though. My mom would float in and out of our lives quite often. There were some times where we wouldn't see her for a couple of years.
Okay.
She was still in that partying mode. She had different boyfriends. She had different husbands. So it was all over the place with her. My dad was in my life for most of my life, really. He ended up getting remarried, had another family, which later on kind of messed with my head a little bit just because I felt abandoned as a child, and then he gets remarried, has another family. But family was great. And although my dad was in my life, he was never really that true father figure, I had my grandpa, obviously, who owned that role, but he was still my grandpa. I never really had a father figure. And I can remember going to visit my dad as a child, and he would live in some interesting neighborhoods, sometimes in the basement of people's houses. And I remember the smell of, old beer and maybe some smoke or something. And it just wasn't a really good environment for kids. But once he got remarried, had his own family again, things looked better from his standpoint. But coming from that environment, I had anger issues, Brian. As a kid, I had bad anger issues. I mean, I would fight somebody if he looked at me wrong, And experts actually told my grandparents, they said, I think your grandson's going to be a statistic, meaning the environment he comes from, the background he comes from. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up in prison or in a gang or shot or whatever, right? And so my grandparents dedicated their lives to make sure that didn't happen. And pretty soon I got involved with martial arts and sports, and I thought it was great because I could go in the ring and beat somebody up and be praised for it,
right.
And I was the youngest black belt in Colorado, and then I ended up fighting in the Junior Olympics and did pretty well. Worked my way into mainstream sports like football and basketball, and they kept me out of trouble rather, and really, put my mindset in the mindset that I still have today. The mindset of the human brain can accomplish anything. And if you can meditate, you can actually meditate yourself out of almost every bad situation you could imagine. And so the amount of control a person can have over their own actions and results, it really stems from A, my grandparents, and then B, sports. And, it's interesting, Brian, because I think about that mental toughness side of things, right? And I lead a team of salespeople throughout the country, and our team motto is funny. It's tough, TOUGH, tough. And that stands for trust, ownership, unity, gratefulness, and humility.
Okay, can you repeat those again?
Yes, sir. Tough, TOUGH. So that's trust,
unity, ownership,
unity.
Okay,
gratefulness.
Okay.
And humility. I struggle. I almost did put grit in there, but I put gratefulness just because without gratefulness, without being grateful for the air that we breathe, the sunshine that shines down on our bodies, right, gives us vitamin D, our families, you don't go far without gratefulness. And so I decided to put gratefulness in there before grit. But I might make a part 2 and just have 2 G's for tough. I might just spell it a different way.
You can spell it any way you want, man. So for you Bamboo Pack listeners out there, a part of the pack, I want to just recap what he just said, because, I mean, and I think a lot of you who are listening consistently can relate to a couple of things, going back to past episodes and the podcast, number 23 and number 24. Number 23, when we did the podcast on defining and determining and controlling your dark side, Geno had a dark side. Geno has a dark side. And that dark side is what fuels his passion, what fuels his compassion, what fuels his success, and his energy right now is coming from very humble beginnings, and having a challenged childhood and being rescued by these angels, his grandparents, having anger issues. And brother, I can relate to that. I mean, anybody who listened to episode number 23 heard my stories of my disappointed years of fighting every opportunity I could when I was playing rugby. And then I just love what he said. The human brain can accomplish anything. So I want you members out there, all you PAC members out there who are listening, just think about some of the things you're going through right now and some of the struggles you're facing. Maybe the struggles you faced when you were younger or, in your recent past, then you feel like you just can't get through it and you can't overcome it. The human brain can accomplish anything. And go back to that acronym TOUGH: trust, ownership, unity, gratefulness, and humility. I mean, that's some good stuff, man. I'm so thankful. You know what, Geno? We've talked so many times. I didn't know this. If I did know it, I don't remember you telling me this story. So thanks for sharing that, man. I love the fact that you're so open, despite being one tough mother effer. I got to tell a funny story, Geno. This might embarrass you a little bit.
Sir.
So a couple of weeks ago, Geno and I were on the phone and we were talking. We always talk, for you PAC members out there, Bamboo PAC, we talk a lot about we talk a lot about grit, getting through something intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, financially, mentally, physically. And, we were talking about working out, and Geno he's going to talk about this in a minute. He does an incredible workout session. He eats shit that nobody else, like a drunk goat wouldn't eat, but he does. And I said, well, let me see. So he sent me a picture of his abs, and I'm like, what the shit? I mean, he looks like the cover of Men's Health magazine. And and if you saw him, if you walked into a bar and you were ready to fight someone, you wouldn't pick Geno to fight. I can tell you that right now. So Geno, other than your grandparents, because it sounds like they were quite an inspiration for you, outside of your immediate family, who inspired you as a child?
I heard your podcast, The Dark Side, and obviously your last podcast with Bill. And, he said it perfect. He said, Brian, that's a hard question to answer.
It is.
And it is for me too, because there are so many teachers. There's so many coaches, friends as parents, my wife, right? My wife through my entire life has always been there for me. I feel honored to be her husband because she doesn't like many people, but she likes me, right? She likes me. And I said, I must have done something right because my wife doesn't like very many people, but she likes me, So, it's so hard for me to name names, but I can tell you, who gave me my base, right? Who gave me the base that allowed me to proceed in life were my grandparents. And my grandpa was my best friend. I mean, he was my best friend. Unfortunately, fortunately, he went to the Lord August 28th, 2013, and my grandma April 30th of 2017. And so they're in a better spot. And my grandpa was former military, and he also came from very, very humble beginnings. And talk about mental toughness. This dude was crazy tough. I'd always tell him, "You're a crazy old man, you know that?" And he'd just kind of smile at me and say, "Yeah, I am." And he was strict. I mean, he was definitely strict. If I was being an idiot, he would tell me I'm being an idiot, right? And that helped me through many situations. And I got a story for you, Brian. I'll never forget this time. And this is when I finally knew that people can do hard things, right? So it was right before a playoff basketball game. It was a regional playoff basketball game, and I got food poisoning. And it was the day of, and I woke up, I'm throwing up, I have a crazy fever. And he goes in my room and he goes, "Hey, Geno, get up. And I'm like, I can't get up. And he goes, "Nope, get your butt up and follow me downstairs." And so I struggle my way downstairs. And he goes, "Do you want to play tonight?" And I go, "Yeah, I want to play tonight." He goes, "Well, you don't look like you want to play tonight." He goes, "First of all, you got to get your mind right. You got to tell yourself you're playing tonight. Second, you're going to follow every step I tell you to do." And it sucked, right? I ate what he told me to eat. I drank what he told me to drink. I'd eat, puke, drink, puke. And I kept doing that. 2 hours later, Brian, I put some electrolytes back in my body. I freaking played that night, and we won the game. And that was the first time. I think I was 16 years old. I knew that you could do whatever you wanted to do, So that's my grandpa for you. And then my grandma, just sweet as ever, but she was small, but she was one of the most physically gifted, strongest women I've ever met in my life. She had muscles, man. And sometimes she'd lift things up and I'd be like, I got it, Grandma. She'd be like, no, I got it, So just those two people alone, those were my base inspirers.
Oh man, I love that. So do you remember what he made you drink?
Yeah, so he had me drinking milk, water, and then eating bread, and then it was like flan. You know what flan is? Flan, FLAN. But it's like an absorber, and I was eating and drinking that, and I would eat it, I'd puke, and you know how hard it is to put something back in your mouth after you puke, you know. But I did it, man. I did
milk.
it, and milk. Yeah, it's terrible, and I'm not a huge fan of milk, anyways. But you know, that's why when I look at some of the things I eat today, you know, and I send you pictures of it, people cringe, but it's not a big deal to me, right? It actually is refreshing sometimes when I eat weird stuff.
Okay, so for you Bamboo Pack out there, Geno eats oranges like they're apples. He just takes and bites and eats the whole damn thing. He grinds up watermelon rind and all and drinks it as a shake. I mean, I've gotten so much nutritional advice and guidance from, but I have not picked up an orange yet. I don't know if I have the stomach for that yet, but I mean, I can't imagine being sick and throwing up and drinking milk. That's the last thing I want to drink when I'm sick to my stomach. But so
yeah, not fun.
No, in the last 3 years, let's say, I know we've had some challenges over the past 3 years across this world of ours. What do you think your biggest learning has been over the past 3 years?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Get the latest insights from top mortgage pros on Mortgage Connects, a podcast by MGIC. We interview thought leaders from across the industry to share their wide-ranging expertise and candid views on critical market developments and current housing trends. Our guests reveal highly effective marketing and referral strategies, training tips and best practices, and what you can expect from the mortgage market in the future. Hear from experts like best-selling author Todd Duncan, U.S. Bank's Lenny McNeil, and Freddie Mac's Danny Gardner. Listen to Mortgage Connects on your favorite app or at mortgageconnects.com today.
Yeah, you know, careful when I say this, just because when you mention the word COVID, right, there's a lot of sensitivity behind that word. And, you know, people went through some tough times. You know, people lost a lot of close people to them. So I'm very careful when I say that. But in all honesty, in the last 3 years, Brian, going through COVID, I learned that people are tough, man. I learned that they are resilient. I learned that they're freaking strong, right? I mean, throughout COVID, I feel like I learned that people are good too, amazingly good. And, you know, between companies helping companies, people helping people, I mean, it was absolutely amazing. And that's what I'm careful about saying is, I don't want to say COVID was amazing, but what I experienced through COVID, it was amazing. And, you know, watching restaurants reach out to different restaurants, helping them out, you know, the financial situations that people were in, but they were still willing to go spend money at a restaurant, even though they didn't know if their next paycheck was going to come. You know, I was really proud of the way companies pivoted and made different products for the environment that we were living in. So all honesty, man, I look at the human race and I think, whatever freaking curveball you throw it. We will hit it. We'll hit it.
You know, it's funny because I asked that question to a lot of people, you know, like, you know, what is your biggest learning? And I hear probably 70% of the time it was something negative that they got out of the past 3 years. You know, or it comes with a negative stint. What Geno just said to us is he took that and look, he saw this situation we were in with COVID and the pandemic and the shutdowns and, you know, people losing their jobs and restaurants and businesses shutting down. I'm sitting in one right now that was affected by it at Big Bob's. And what he saw was the beauty in the people and how he responded to it. And it's not at all the situation that we're in that causes pain. It's how we respond. We have the opportunity every single day to look at a situation as a negative or a positive. And so often we as humans, because of that little tiny almond-shaped part of our brain called the amygdala, we look at the negative because we're trying to protect ourselves. We're looking for threats. Geno said, F that. I'm looking at the positives here. And I think you're exactly right, Geno. I saw the same things in people. I saw the resiliency in the human race. And I think that's such a powerful statement that people are resilient. So for you out there in the bamboo pack, for you who are going through a struggle right now, your own COVID, so to speak, your own structure challenges, your own problems right now, how resilient are you? How are you stepping up? How are you responding? Are you looking at it as the situation like this is going to overcome me and I don't know what to do? Or are you saying, no, this is going to bring out the best in me? You know, one of the things we do a lot of speaking on and teaching and coaching on at the Bamboo Lab here is a concept of the difference between food style people and poisonous people. And, you know, when you're in a situation where you are challenged and you are hit and you are knocked down, poisonous people always look at that and say, oh my gosh, this is bringing out the worst in me. Or a food style nourishing, strong person looks at a situation like that and says, come on, bring it on. Whatever you want to throw at me, come on, bring it on. This is going to bring out the best in me. And I love what you just said. So thank you for that message. That was great. People are resilient. 100% agree. Yeah. I want you to tell the audience, the Bamboo Pack members here, tell us about what you do to keep your body in shape, because I don't care if you're into physical fitness or mental fitness or spiritual fitness or financial fitness. I don't care. It's all about dedication and commitment and keeping a consistency to your schedule. So tell me some of the crazy things you do that challenges you, because this is good stuff.
Yeah, you bet. You know, first and foremost, you got to have the right mindset, right? So without the right mindset, it's not going to work. And so, Brian, I don't know if I ever texted you a picture of my gym. It's nothing special.
Yeah, you did.
My gym is nothing special.
You did say it to me, yeah.
So I have a couple of dumbbells. You know, I have a bench rack that was $20 on Craigslist. You know, I have some bands, and that's all I have. And I work out 30 minutes a day. Okay, that's all I do. 30 minutes a day. And 3 times a week, I like to get my heart rate up to at least 150. Okay. So at least 150 for 15 minutes. And, you know, I'm a weird individual. So if I have a fever, Brian, there's no Advil involved. There's nothing like that. I go and sweat. That's all I do. I run, and it's not fun. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's fun to run when you have a fever, but I go run. I drown myself in water. And literally, I will kick a fever in probably 8 hours. That's probably the longest I've had a fever for. And so there's no medication. I'm very, in my body anyways, I do not accept any medication. I do ice treatment, right? So cold weather treatment. And it's as simple as literally taking a 2-minute shower in ice cold water. And what that does is it helps with recovery. It decreases any inflammation or any pain that you have. It increases blood flow, actually, boosts your metabolism. The endorphins are released with positive energy. And it helps with discipline and resilience. So I get my mind right with ice baths or with ice showers. And really, I like to do a lot of weird things like earthing. Do you know what earthing is?
I do not. Earth.
So it's simple. So you take off your socks and your shoes and you go walk in your grass. That's all it is. And it does amazing things for your mind. So if you're stressed, if you're busy, you know, we're all busy in this life, and you just feel like you need some energy and rejuvenation, maybe even lower your blood pressure, just go do that. Go do that really fast. Don't take a medicine. Just go sit out in the grass without shoes on. And it's amazing what that does. I also do a 14-hour intermittent fasting every single day. So, you know, if I have dinner at 5 o'clock, I won't eat breakfast until 8. You know, so every day I do that. That boosts my metabolism, and I eat whole foods. I try to stay away from any junk. So really, Brian, that's the base of it. And then I just do different muscle groups. So maybe one day I'll do chest and biceps, or maybe I'll do triceps and back. I'll do my glutes. Also, another thing is I stretch all my major muscle groups, right? So my quads, my hamstrings, my chest, my glutes, my calves. Very, very important, especially if you have a desk job. You have to stretch. You absolutely have to stretch.
Okay, so I want to go back. So, Geno, with what you do, how much money does it cost you? How much more? Let me just say this: how much more does it cost you than going to McDonald's every day for lunch?
Oh man, yeah, exactly, right. I mean, food is more because I eat whole foods and usually organic, so that's going to be higher. But I don't pay for a gym membership. I don't pay to go to the doctor. I go for a year physical, but that's it. I don't pay to go get on medication, so I'm actually saving a ton of money just by treating my body the way I do.
Okay, so let's recapture this. So Geno works out. He works out 30 minutes a day, right?
Yep, 30 minutes.
30 minutes a day. He gets his heart rate up to 150 3 times a week. No medication. Yep. He does a cold bath for 2 minutes, or cold showers. Yep. I'm sorry. When he's stressed or something, he goes and walks barefoot or sits in the grass with his shoes and socks off. He eats whole foods, and he just isolates when he does work out, he's isolating a muscle, and he's stretching his major muscle groups. Now, I want all the members out there and the listeners to think about this. What he just said cost less time than in one episode of a TV show. It costs no more money probably than going to McDonald's every day. Maybe a little bit more, but probably not much. We all have the time. We all have the money. We all have the opportunity and the chance and the opportunity to do exactly what he's doing. And if you are feeling low right now, you're feeling down, depressed, beaten, kind of broken a little bit. Did you hear this guy's energy? You hear how he talks? I mean, he talks with the most optimistic attitude and positivity I've ever heard from another human being. And he does these things on a very short time frame with very little money. We all have that. You have it. It isn't it's not a gym membership. It's not, taking hours a day to work out. It's short time frames of just commitment and consistency. So I love that. But I want to ask you, what does it taste like when you eat an orange like an apple? I still want to know that.
If you do it tomorrow and you've never done it, you're not going to like it, right? You're just not going to like it. For me, I've done it for so long, and it's funny because all my son's friends, all my daughter's friends, they always ask me, "Hey, can you just eat an orange for me? Can you just show us how?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So it's not a big deal to me. I actually prefer it, and I just eat it like an apple, and it's juicy, and you get actually more vitamins because the peel of the orange has way more vitamin C than the actual fruit itself. But I would say, if you're going to try that, lead up to it. So eat the orange and maybe like an inch by inch square piece of the peel, and then keep working your way up until finally you're just eating the whole thing.
But make sure you wash it well first with some good soap.
Yes.
Yeah. With a certain type of soap too.
100%. Yeah, I wash mine with organic soap, right? So I wash it really, really well. Even if it's organic orange, they still spray them with pesticides and whatnot. So you got to clean it really well. But once you clean it and you dry it, oh man, there's nothing like it. It's beautiful.
Wow. Well, I feel a little embarrassed because as you were talking about eating an orange and all the vitamin C and all these great things you do for your body, Rob just brought me another Oberon beer. But with an orange in it, though, there is an orange in it, so that helps. No. So, Geno, if you could, I know with your children and your wife and this legacy that you want to leave in life, that you're leaving beyond people you'll never meet in the flesh. What would you say is the primary message you'd like to leave to the world?
That's another hard one, Brian. But the message I would say is, man, we can do hard things, right? Humans were made to weather the storm, to come out on the other side a better human being, a better process, whatever it is, right? Embrace your hardships, because those hardships are what shape you into the person you will become one day. The person for your family, for your friends, for your community, this person that everybody relies on, that's who you're going to become through your hardships. And really, that's the message that I want people to know. People go through some crap, right? People have difficulties in life, and if you don't, good for you, but I'm positive you do. But you know what? You can go through those hard things and come out a way better person than when you went into it.
I'm gonna gonna steal the spotlight just for a minute here, because what you said as I was writing down reminded me of, my business has been named Torch Consulting for 20 some years, and I changed the name November 25th of my 25th anniversary, or November 20th of this past year, 21, because it was my 25th anniversary, and I changed it to the Bamboo Lab, and that was because last summer I was going through a very dark time. I had moved up to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I was living by myself in a camper, looking for a home. Just kind of finding my way. Figuring I'll live here for 3 months and just kind of find my way. Look for a place. Do I want to live? Decide if I want to live here. Dawson was in college. And I was an empty nester for the first time. I've been a father since I was 19. I was no longer with my love of my life. I was very, very alone, and I wouldn't say depressed, but it was a very dark period. And I was walking my dog. We went for a hike every morning for 3.5 miles. And we were coming back to the camper, and I looked at her and I said, her name is Chloe. She's a little 12-year-old peekapoo. And I said, let's go back to the lab, hun. And I thought, the lab. And it dawned on me why I thought of that in my head subconsciously, is because I looked at that time in my life and that place as this was a lab. This was an opportunity for me to take these dark times, this loneliness that I was feeling inside, and turn it into an opportunity to destroy the former Brian and create a brand new Brian. And then it came on to, then right away I said, it's the Bamboo Lab. And I thought, that's it. I'm changing the name to the Bamboo Lab. So I think you're 100%.
That's a great story, Brian.
We can handle tough stuff, man. We can do hard things, Geno, and you're our living proof of that, my brother. You really are, and I really do love that. We're going to start wrapping up here. We don't have to. I mean, you and I are going to talk for a few minutes. I don't care if you're sweating in your truck or not. We're going to after we go off air, we're going to talk for just a couple of minutes anyway. But for all you Bamboo Pack out there, I'm going to recapture. It's so funny when I talk to successful people. Bill Williams last week, Katya Pansar, episode 19, Tyler Sigmund, episode 18, Jonathan Rand, episode 24. These people who are highly successful in life and really accomplishing some amazing things. I'm so inspired that they almost all came from humble background. They all went through challenges as a child or some point in their life, some major challenges. And, sometimes when we're going through a challenge or a state of depression or anxiety or a divorce or a health scare or a financial scare or a job loss or whatever it might be that you're going through, we tend to think that we're alone. And I have not, in almost 26 years of coaching and working alongside of some of the top performers in the world, I have not met one yet who has not been formed by the challenges they went through. The challenges weren't the problem. It was how they responded to the problem. And that is for all of us. How we respond to the problem is the problem. My old mentor used to say, how you see the issue is the issue. And if you see the issue in a positive way and say, I'm going to make the best of it, you're going to come out stronger. If you see the issue as, oh my gosh, woe is me, then you're going to come out a much weaker person. There's only two options. And Geno, my brother, I mean, honestly, I can't say how proud I am to be your friend and your brother. And I mean, I learned so much more about you today in just the 30-some minutes that we shared on air with the Bamboo Pack. So I appreciate you so much, man.
I appreciate you, man. I thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast. I've had a great time. Always have a great time talking with you.
Well, again, I sat here. I've got goosebumps sitting here at Big Bob's restaurant patio in East Grand Rapids, Michigan. I've got goosebumps just hearing the stuff that you said. So as every single time we've talked, I walk away a better man. Every single time. I walk away more elevated,
me as well, Brian.
More inspired. And I know my listeners are going to remember the name Geno Lechuga out of Colorado. And
appreciate that a lot.
And just to let you know, brother, I do love you. And I can't wait to meet your wife, because when I do meet her, I'm going to fly to Colorado. I'm going to meet her, and she is going to like me. Damn it, I'm going to make her like me. I'm going to make her like me.
We're going to have an Oberon together.
You are going to have an Oberon together. I'll bring some Oberon out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, love that.
So, Geno, again, it's an honor to be your friend, your brother, and it was an honor to introduce you to the Bamboo Pack here on the Bamboo Lab podcast. And again, thank you for taking the time today. I know you're busy.
Thank you, Brian, very much. I really appreciate you guys. Appreciate your audience, and I look forward to our next conversation. I
do too. So stay tuned. When I go off air, we're going to talk for just a couple of minutes. I'm going to make you sweat your butt off a little bit more.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, Bamboo Pack, we're going to sign off today. I just want to challenge you to get out there, please. Follow us on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, whatever your platform is. Follow us, rate me a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4 or 5, whatever you think. Please send in some emails and texts or Facebook messages, LinkedIn messages, and what you thought the Bamboo Lab has done for you, or to you even. And please invite 3 other people. I'd love to just invite people to say, hey, just check this podcast out. Hear what his guests have to say. There's some good stuff here, and let them take it from there. In the meantime, get out there and sculpt your life. Get out there and strive for your best today. Give love and respect to all the people you come in contact with, and by all means, live consciously. We love you all, and thank you for being a part of the Bamboo Pack.